Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School. From our campus in Monterey, California, I'm your host Alan Richmond, right here on the Pentagon Channel. Welcome to the show. Well, recently we visited the Navy's Information Dominant Systems Command, the Space and Naval Warfare Systems Command, also known as SPAWAR. SPAWAR is composed of multiple organizations within, therefore earning the name Team SPAWAR. Within Team SPAWAR, we visited several organizations from PEO C4I, SPAWAR Systems Center Pacific, Fleet Readiness Directorate, Office of the Chief Engineer at SPAWAR, PEO Space Systems, and PEO EIS. We attended a Naval Postgraduate School student group trip to Team SPAWAR, coordinated by NPS PEO C4I Chair Dr. Rachel Goshorn and PEO C4I's Dr. Robert Parker. On this trip, 13 students, U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps officers, represented various curricula across NPS and officer backgrounds. On this trip, the students were made aware of the current and future information dominance and C4I efforts. This trip gave the NPS officers and students an overview of Team SPAWAR with a focus on PEO C4I to assist with their theses, guidance in their careers, and potential follow-on jobs at Team SPAWAR. During discussions, the NPS officers and students also provided recent operational input on programs. Our first visit is with the Navy's Program Executive Office for Command, Control, Communications, Computers, and Intelligence. PEO C4I acquires, fields, and supports C4I systems that extend across Navy, joint, and coalition platforms. This includes managing acquisition programs and projects that cover all C4I disciplines: applications, networks, communications, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems for afloat platforms and shore commands. The students met with leadership in PEO C4I, including a visit with Dr. Robert Parker. PEO C4I currently has a memorandum of agreement with the Naval Postgraduate School. Dr. Parker currently serves as the PEO C4I Assistant PEO for Science and Technology, a position he's held since November 2011. Prior to entering federal service, Captain Bob Parker retired from the U.S. Navy after 27 years of honorable service in September 2011. He held several program management and systems engineering billets with SPAWAR and PEO C4I. Dr. Parker received both his master's and PhD degrees in electrical engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School in 1992 and 1999. Can you give us some examples about the science and technology that is being developed here? What kinds of things does that cover?
Well, we cover everything from feasibility studies to working on specific gaps that impact programs of record. One of the things I think is a pretty big deal for us is the ICOP program that we just fielded through the ONR Rapid Technology Transition Program. In that case, we fielded a capability to the Fifth Fleet to allow Fifth Fleet ships to stream video from UAVs and then actually provide that video from the ship back to Fifth Fleet. Very comprehensive end-to-end capability that without S&T investments available through ONR, we wouldn't have been able to have done that in the time that we did.
Now, we had a group of students from NPS down for the visit, and I'm just wondering, what was the conversation or some of the advice, tips that you provided to them?
My biggest advice has been on how to align to the resources that are down here. At this point of where they're at, since most of the students that are coming down have several years up there, I'm trying to capture the students' interest as early as possible and then figure out ways to align them to our program offices.
The students also had the opportunity to meet with the Program Executive Officer for C4I, Rear Admiral Jerry Burrows, as well as his deputy, Mr. Pat Sullivan. Rear Admiral Jerry Burrows wears two hats as the Program Executive Officer for Command, Control, Communications, Computers, and Intelligence for PEO C4I. Additionally, he is the Program Executive Officer for Space Systems, an office we will meet with later on in the show. Rear Admiral Burrows assumed his current duties as PEO C4I in April 2010 and as PEO Space Systems in June 2011. His previous flag assignment was Chief Engineer for Space and Naval Warfare Systems Command. First of all, Admiral, thanks very much for taking time to spend with us here on the Pentagon Channel and for showing us around SPAWAR this week.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Talk a little bit, if you would, about your command. Tell us your area of responsibility and what happens in the world of SPAWAR from your side.
Okay, well, as you know, I'm the Program Executive Officer for Command, Control, Communications, Computers, and Intelligence. So really, we're involved in developing information dominance capabilities for the fleet. So whether it's intelligence systems, analysis and dissemination of intelligence, or command and control systems, communications, networks, it's a very broad realm of capabilities and very challenging business to be in.
Well, that's a word I was going to toss back out at you, and can you talk a little bit about what some of those challenges are? Because that's a pretty big spectrum of responsibility.
It is. I think some of our biggest challenges involve how fast technology evolves in the C4I realm and our ability to respond to that change. You know, we use the same acquisition systems that's used to develop ships and aircrafts, which are, developed over a number of years and fielded and last for, 20, 30, 40 years. Our systems, our technology would generally be obsolete if it takes us more than a year or two to develop and field it. So working within the acquisition system to rapidly field capability and get it out to the warfighter is one of our biggest challenges.
Well, as you know, we at NPS collaborate with lots of different agencies, and SPAWAR happens to be one that we have a very close working relationship with. What's the benefit of that collaboration?
It's a resource for us to say, hey, here's a problem that we're seeing in the fleet today. Can you give us some ideas of how we might solve that problem? So we work very closely with NPS, and we do have a great working relationship with them, and it has produced big dividends for us in past years.
Well, great. Well, Admiral, again, thank you for having us here at SPAWAR and for taking time to be with us here on the Pentagon Channel.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Within PEO C4I, there are 10 program management offices. Our next visit is with the Deputy PEO for Technical Direction and Program Integration, Mr. Charles Suggs. Charlie Suggs has served as the DPEO for Technical Direction and Program Integration, PEO C4I, since September 2005. He developed and manages PEO C4I's master plan. What is the master plan? How do you develop that?
Yes. So the master plan, the key about the master plan is it looks across all the PEO C4I programs of records, and what we try to do is we look at what are in our portfolios, what's currently funded, okay, from now and across the fit-up, and we talk about how those portfolios come together, provide capabilities to the warfighter. So we look at current capabilities, current configuration, planned capabilities and planned configuration for our portfolios and for our platforms.
What are some of the biggest challenges? Is it more funding than anything else?
Funding is a big part of it. Certainly we're always trying to do more with less in this environment. But getting the product out, I'd say the biggest things that we try to do is cost, okay, the funding, getting things out quicker, schedule, getting it out to the warfighter as quick as we can, and getting and working in the workforce together, making sure that we're prepared to do those first two things.
Now, we interface a lot with NPS and SPAWAR and your particular organization. How's that working, and what's the benefit in the end to the warfighter?
Oh, I think there's a lot of benefit, and we've been working with NPS over the years, and I think it's a good thing. Your folks are down here, and we're visiting, and we're exchanging information. From a technical point of view, it's good because for instance, I've seen some of the papers that your folks have written. They're in areas that we're interested in, and that helps us. It's also us telling you, here's some areas that we're interested in. We're interested in research in that area. I think there's a big advantage for people, acquisition and technical, once they have that educational information. If they end up, and when they do end up down here, it's a win-win. We've got people who've been educated in the things we're interested in, and now they can actually explore those things in an acquisition environment.
We'll be back with more from SPAWAR in San Diego right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Well, with the students, we visited 9 of the 10 program offices within PEO C4I. First, we'll hear from the program manager of the Undersea Integration Program Office, PMW 770. Here's Captain Miguel San Pedro.
I am the program manager for the Undersea Integration Program Office, PMW 770, within PEO C4I. As you know, Alan, PEO C4I is responsible for delivering integrated C4I solutions to the fleet. And my role in all of that then is specifically focused on the undersea community and my primary customer, the submarine force.
Now, what are some of the challenges that you face? That's a big area of responsibility and covers a lot of ground.
Well, so taking care of the undersea forces, I do have a lot of stakeholders that I make sure I'm addressing their needs. In addition to the engineering and scientific and technical community that I just mentioned, I also have to deal with the operational community, primarily within submarine forces, submarine forces Atlantic, submarine forces Pacific, and make sure that they are getting the capabilities they need to go off and conduct the core submarine missions.
You're an NPS graduate. Tell us a little bit about your time at NPS. What did you study, and when did that take place?
So I went to NPS about 10 years ago, and I majored in electrical engineering. My emphasis there was on digital signal processing.
And how did that help with your career track as you look back a decade later?
I studied electrical engineering with an emphasis on digital signal processing. My thesis at the time was on neural networks. Now, the value I gained from that, though, wasn't necessarily in the technical field. It's being exposed to that environment and the emphasis on supporting the warfighter. I got the broader perspective that beyond the technologies that we study and learn, the focus then becomes on how do you support mission accomplishment, both within the Navy and the other services.
Captain, thank you very much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Our next program office within PEO C4I is the Communications and GPS Navigation Program Office, PMWA 170. We had a chance to speak with the program office's Deputy Program Manager, Commander Kurt Rothenhaus. Commander Rothenhaus received both his Master's of Science in Computer Science and PhD in Software Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School. Let me start off by asking you, what is your mission and your area of responsibility here?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to meet with you today. I'm the Deputy Program Manager at PMW 170. We field both the satellite and the RF communications and GPS navigation systems for the fleet. And so we're quite proud of that, and we deliver those main technologies for the warfighter.
Now, we were really pleased to be able to come down with about 14 students from the Naval Postgraduate School. What was your message? What do you talk to them about when they come down, and what's the correlation with NPS?
Well, you know, we view, I know personally, I attribute so much of the opportunities I've had in the Navy and my ability to serve has come from the Naval Postgraduate School. That technological education, that foundation education in computer science that I received when I was a student at NPS really has served me well throughout my career and has been a key component of my ability to execute the mission here at SPAWAR and the other jobs I've had throughout the fleet.
Well, thank you very much for your service and for giving us the opportunity to talk to you here on the Pentagon Show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, sir.
After our visit across PEO C4I, we visited SPAWAR Systems Center Pacific. SPAWAR Systems Center Pacific carries out research, development, acquisition, test, and evaluation, and full life cycle support of effective command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, information operations, enterprise information services, and space capabilities. We had the opportunity to speak with the commanding officer of SPAWAR Systems Center Pacific, Captain Joseph Beal.
I'm Joe Beal, the commanding officer of SPAWAR Systems Center Pacific in San Diego, California. SPAWAR Systems Center Pacific is the largest command within SPAWAR Systems Command. We're a full spectrum research and development, logistics support, and engineering command that supports information dominance across the Navy, Joint National Coalition partners. So we have a lot of officers, Navy, Marine Corps, who have graduated from different curriculums at the Naval Postgraduate School. And some of our civilians are former military who have graduated there as military. And additionally, we have civilians who have attended the Naval Postgraduate School. And so they bring those degrees back, whether it be in residence, or we've had a lot of people in the last few years doing distance learning degrees. And so they bring those degrees and the DWIA training that they get within those degrees to the workforce, applying those as computer science, operations research, systems engineering, electrical engineering, various fields like that. And we apply those in our competencies where we develop capabilities for the warfighter.
Next, we visited with another organization within Team SPAWAR, the newly formed Fleet Readiness Directorate. On October 2, 2011, SPAWAR established the Fleet Readiness Directorate to provide increased focus on C4I installations and in-service systems sustainment. The Directorate engages the fleet by looking at systems across platforms to address C4I systems issues early. Within the Fleet Directorate, we had the opportunity to talk with the Program Manager of the Fleet Support Office, Captain John Roby. I was going to ask you about challenges, and I guess funding is a big challenge that we all face in the military these days with the budget cuts.
Absolutely. Funding for the in-service programs is a challenge because they're not high-profile programs that are fully fielded. There's no new things coming with some of these programs, so it's a fight for money. What we focus on is getting into those knife fights, if you will, to get the money. So we focus energies on going to the type commanders, Naval Surface Force, Commander Naval Air Forces, the ship owners, and also the network owners, Navy Cyber 4, to tell our story that we need money to support these in-service programs. So we go to a whole bunch of meetings to tell our story to these type commanders to get money for these programs that are traditionally under-resourced.
So we talked a little bit about some of the challenges. On the other flip side of the coin, what are some of the successes and some of the positive things that you're achieving?
We focused a lot of energy, for example, on the 4 deployed patrol craft and mine countermeasure ships that are in the 5th Fleet AOR in Bahrain. We've put a lot of energy, even recently, getting their C4I suites in a mission-ready status. Since they're forward deployed all the time, we can't afford to have a dip in their readiness. So it's a great accolades. We've gotten great comments from the Commodores and the type commanders that the work we've done to fly teams over to Bahrain and groom their C4I suites has been appreciated by the fleet.
After the Fleet Readiness Directorate, we had the opportunity to talk with SPAWAR's Office of the Chief Engineer, Technical Director Mr. Dan Hendricks. So Dan, what are some of the challenges that you face?
Probably some of the hardest areas are the integration of all the various systems. Again, information technology and a lot of these technologies have grown up almost independently. We're converging a lot more. More and more systems are becoming interconnected, which gives the fleet more capability. But at the same time, a lot of those innovations get ahead of standards and ensuring that we have the right security across the entire spectrum of our networks and our systems, and ensuring that we have interoperability between the systems as expected is a pretty difficult challenge.
Now, you're also a sponsor for NPS. Tell us a little bit how that works.
That's right. Admiral Rodman is the chief engineer, and he is the sponsor for the electrical EE department for that curriculum. And every 2 years, each curriculum goes through a sponsor review. And actually, this cycle we did this past year, we pulled in stakeholders from fleet representatives. We had several captains from different communities that were essentially stakeholders in that particular degree, and did a review of the curriculum and went through and made several recommendations, and have worked with the staff and faculty since then to incorporate those changes. So it's been a much more collaborative effort.
We'll be back with more from Team SPAWAR right after the break. Within Team SPAWAR, we also had the opportunity for the students to meet with PEO Space Systems. PEO Space Systems coordinates all departments of the Navy space research, development, and acquisition activities. A main topic of interest to the students was the Navy's new satellite mobile user objective system. Here's Principal Assistant Program Manager, Commander Matt Boland. Tell us a little bit about what your role is and what you do here at SPAWAR.
I am the Principal Assistant Program Manager on the MUOS Satellite Communications Program. MUOS will be the next generation narrowband UHF SATCOM program. So as such, as the Principal Assistant Program Manager, I'm responsible now for ensuring delivery of the MUOS satellites from the prime contractor, and also the associated ground system to make sure that it's developed, deployed, sustained, and operated properly. And then the last piece of that pie is development and testing of the waveform, or the user entry piece.
So technology is always changing and we're always learning new things. What's the future hold for satellites? Where are we going in the future?
I think the future is really quite bright for military satellite communications, there's always going to be a need for the warfighter to have increased reliability, increased throughput, and that need to get voice and data across the world to whoever he needs to talk to on demand. So MUOS, which is just now being deployed, we've finished most of the research and development, is the next generation. It's modeled on commercial 3G technology, so we're taking UHF SATCOM from a legacy point of view to something that's more akin to your wireless 3G cell network. And then as soon as we start deploying and supporting MUOS, it's time to plan the next program, which would be some sort of MUOS Next type program, and continue the quest to enhance that throughput and that connectivity for the warfighter.
We also had the opportunity to speak with Commander Boland's colleague, Commander Chris DeSena, who, by the way, is also an NPS alum. Chris, nice to meet you first of all.
Nice to meet you.
Talk a little bit about what your role is here at SPAWAR. What do you do?
I work for PMW 146, where I am the Launch and Mission Operations Director for the MUOS satellite program. I'm also responsible for all the on-orbit checkout of the current satellite that's currently on orbit.
Now, I know that you're an NPS alum. Tell us about your time. When were you at NPS and what did you do there?
I'm a 2006 December graduate of the 591 Space System Engineering program at Naval Postgraduate School.
So it was a positive experience, and how did it help your career?
It helped make a transition. I'm currently an aerospace engineering duty officer. I was initially a helicopter pilot for the Navy. As I became an AEDO and transitioned to this, basically the space cadre portion of the Navy, it gave me the backbone foundation that required to be able to do the job necessary to be basically a space engineer for the Navy.
What's the correlation between NPS? How does SPAWAR and NPS work together?
Well, it's good to have, you have a bunch of young, smart, eager people down at NPS who they want to make a difference. We get into our programs here and we get caught up sometimes in the acquisition and basically of trying to get the job done. To get a fresh set of eyes on something that basically we've been looking at for a long time, and people who are eager to make a difference and maybe provide a different thought process to make the process better. And that's what NPS provides. You have, like I said, a bunch of young, smart people down there who are looking to make a difference.
After our interactions with PEO Space Systems, we met with SPAWAR's PEO Enterprise and Information Systems. PEO EIS is a world-class provider of IT solutions connecting people and information and oversees a portfolio of enterprise-wide information technology programs designed to enable common business processes and provide standard information technology capabilities to sailors at sea, Marines in the field, and their support systems. PEO EIS is located in Arlington, Virginia, but has representation in San Diego. Here's Lieutenant Commander Dan Haas. It's really interesting. There's so many different components, and it's really kind of team SPAWAR, and this is one part of the puzzle. How does that fit in?
So we do a lot of interfacing across the program offices between EIS and C4I for a multitude of things. And then SPAWAR supports both. System centers support every program, and SPAWAR headquarters being the tech authority and the overarching umbrella to all the PEOs stay involved. So it is one big team effort.
Now, you're an NPS graduate. Tell us a little bit about your time at NPS. What did you study and when did you attend?
I attended from June of 2008 till June of 2010, and I studied systems engineering, network-centric track, and so I got my master's in that, and also worked on the JPME qualifications as well.
And what are some of the memories that you have of your time at NPS, and how did it help your career in the long run?
What it allowed me to do going on beyond NPS was really to allow critical thinking. In my job as a chief engineer, it's all systems engineering, so I'm able to take all the aspects of the different pieces of the engineering of the network and make sure that we're doing the proper due diligence in the engineering process.
Well, during our visit at Team SPAWAR, we had the chance to talk with Lieutenant Commander Aaron Littlejohn, who's a current NPS student.
We met with the PEO C4I, had a chance to meet with their leadership, hear the problems that they're addressing and also the opportunities that they're working with the fleet to provide solutions. Being on the ground, having a chance to actually meet individuals was beneficial twofold. One, it gave us a chance to go to these different offices and specifically align ourselves to places where we met individually with the PMW offices, learned their missions, learned what they're working on, and then identified specifically the offices that we'll be working with our research. Two, we also had the chance to get them to meet us. People are a lot more motivated to work with you when they have a face to go with the name. So meeting with them gave us the chance to explain our thesis research and then hear their problems and the projects they're working on to see if we might be able to work together towards a common good.
Another current NPS student is Lieutenant Michael Woods.
So my thesis topic, what I'm actually settling on is communications between unmanned systems, which after hearing a lot of the briefs from the different components of the SPAWAR organization and PEO C4I, I think is exactly what they need right now. I would say a pretty large percentage of the topics that they discussed had to do with unmanned systems and communications within there. So my thesis topic is really about having a more efficient bandwidth usage scheme for unmanned systems. It's been a long time since I've actually been in school for undergrad, and I've learned a lot of different things, very specific stuff as a submariner. This is kind of a similar sort of approach, but for something that, you know, it was just purely up to me, choosing my topic, choosing something that I'm passionate about, and choosing something that I think can be beneficial for the military.
Well, that wraps it up for our visit at Team SPAWAR in San Diego, California. Thanks for joining us. I'll look for you again on Inside NPS. I'm Alan Richmond. Goodbye.